Nicola, I've just forwarded you an email from Councillor Dale Sylvester. Do you mind just sending the link to his personal email address, please?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Just let me know when you're ready to go live, please, Chair.
Sorry, Nicola. Could you also resend the link to Councillor Sean Bibby? Thank you.
Sorry for the delay, but we're just waiting for a couple of members to come online.
Sorry, Marion, I was going to send the link just as soon as I press the go live, because I don't want to drop the links that I've got set up on screen. So if you go live, and I'll send the link straight away to them.
Right, good morning, everyone. I think we're now ready to start. The Community and Housing Overview Scrutiny Committee for Wednesday, the 11th of February. And before we start, I think we should give a welcome to our new County Councillor, who is now part of this committee, Councillor Christian Salkeld. And apologies, but we've only got your Christian name on the front sheet of the agenda. But most very important people only use their Christian name. So you should take it as a compliment, really. Right, we'll now go on to the agenda. Item 1, apologies. Do we have any apologies, Kerry?
No, we've received no apologies, Chair.
Right. Agenda item 2, declarations of interest, including whipping. Do we have any declarations?
Nobody's indicating, Chair.
No declarations of interest. Right, agenda item 3, the minutes, to confirm as the correct record the minutes of the meeting held on the 14th of January, and it's pages 5 to 8. Okay, can we have the mover as the correct record? Thank you, Councillor Rush, and the seconder. Okay. We'll just go through them briefly. Page 5, page 6, page 7, page 8. Okay, can we have a show of hands that we're approving them?
That's carried, Chair.
Thank you very much. Agenda item 4, urgent matters, as agreed by the Chair. And you'll be pleased to hear there are no urgent matters. So we'll go on to agenda item 5, the forward work programme and action tracking, pages 9 to 18. And we go over to Kerry now. Thank you, Kerry.
Thank you very much, Chair. Good morning, members. You'll see the current forward work programme on page 13. I think that says, yeah, page 13 of your agenda. There's been one change to the items listed for the next meeting in March since the forward work programme was agreed at the last meeting, and that is that the report on the North East Wales Homes Business Plan will be presented to the committee in March. That was shown at the bottom of the forward work programme to be allocated to a date, so that's now been allocated. Moving on to the action tracking, appendix 2 of the report, you will see that the majority of the actions are completed. On the action relating to writing to DWP, we had drafted a letter which was going to be sent, but Jen Griffiths has since confirmed that that information is now available, that the authority can access it. So it was felt there was no point of sending the letter, and that information will be included in future welfare reform reports to this committee. And on the homelessness action, you will see from the information in your agenda that the briefing note has been amended and it does reflect the previous 2 months' data. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Clayton, did you get the information you wanted from?
I think it was going to be a report.
Okay, so you're satisfied with that?
Do you want Sean to come in?
Right. Sean?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Some information relating to decants that were raised at the last meeting. Just to give a bit of an overview, over the past 24 months, we've had 3 decants that related to severe damp and mould. On average, those decants, those temporary moves, can last from 1 to 6 months, depending on what works are required in the asset or any support works we need to undertake. Costs relating to those decants relate to void properties. So where possible, we utilise any voids that may be on the list that currently aren't being in demand. So again, we can, because it's a decant, they don't have to match the tenant's needs fully, but we try to where possible. And that's £139 per week. And that's not a cost to us, that's just a loss of rent because we're utilising that void property rather than utilise a hotel, for example. So costs £139 per week for the time that they're in a void property, plus any white good connections or removal costs. So relatively low. And to be honest, what we do find is a number of the void properties that we utilise better suit the needs of the tenant or their family rather than a hotel accommodation. Is that okay? Thank you, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Sean. Councillor Bibby.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairman. Just to say, very pleased that after the long-standing evasiveness of the Department of Work and Pensions in providing that data to us, we finally are in a position to receive it. And just with that, just to formally move the 2 recommendations.
Thank you, Sean. I think it's because they knew that we were going to send that letter, actually. And there are 3 recommendations, so I shall read them out first. Recommendation 1, that the committee considers the draft forward work programme and approve or amend as necessary, that the facilitator in consultation with the chair of the committee be authorised to vary the forward work programme between meetings as the need arises, and that the committee notes the progress made in completing the outstanding actions. So we have a mover. Can we have a seconder, please? Councillor Clayton, thank you. Can we have a show of hands? Thank you very much. That's carried. Now we'll move on to agenda item 6, the Council Fund Budget 2026-27. The final closing stage, pages 19 to 26. And I think we're going over, first of all, to...
Sorry to interrupt, Chair. Councillor Gilly. Oh, okay. Just put her hand down. It's fine.
Okay.
Oh, sorry. She's put her hand up. I don't know whether...
Councillor Brockley, did you?
Yes, please. Thank you. Sorry, Chair. I just wanted to give my apologies for joining the meeting so late. I've been having terrible IT trouble and I've been on all the different devices trying to get on this morning, but I have been in contact with IT as well. So I just wanted to give my apologies for my late attendance.
That's very kind of you, Councillor Brockley. I think we had a few late attendees, but we're all here now. Thank you for that.
Yeah, can I say the same, please, Chair? I had a problem with 4 youths in Holywell Town Centre this morning, so I got home later than I expected and then couldn't join.
It's good to see you here anyway. Thank you very much. So we're going over to Rachel. Thank you very much, Rachel.
Oh, thank you. So I'll be presenting this report and Vicky will be also supporting. So the Welsh Local Government Provisional Settlement was announced on the 24th of November, and a summary of the key headlines and impacts on our budget planning was set out in a report to Cabinet and Corporate Resources Overview and Scrutiny in December. The report advised of a minimum remaining budget gap of 9.519 million, which the Council will need to bridge to enable it to set a legal and balanced budget for the 26-27 financial year. The final settlement was announced on the 20th of January and included additional funding. Our allocation arising from this was an uplift of 4.1%, which contributes an additional 5.219 million to our budget position compared with the December report. The additional funding won't be sufficient to meet the previously reported budget gap and the ongoing impact of increasing service demand in areas such as social care and the education additional learning needs. As previously reported, portfolios have been revisiting their cost base with a view to identifying potential budget reductions of up to 3%. And the options identified by the Housing Community portfolio are included in the report presented for consideration. I'll now pass to Vicky to update on the options identified by the Housing and Communities portfolio.
Thank you, Rachel. Good morning, members. So as members are aware, the vast majority of funding for the Housing and Communities portfolio does come from the Housing Revenue account. So the council fund budget predominantly funds two bits of the service, which is housing and homelessness service, housing support and homelessness services, and parts of the housing welfare and community service. So in terms of looking for efficiencies within the portfolio, there's one listed in the report which relates to our welfare reform service, and that has been achieved through additional grant income that we've achieved from the housing support grant, and that's been secured to offset some posts within that service. Obviously, reducing or stopping that service would have a detrimental impact in terms of the ability for us to provide financial advice and support to residents, which is a risk given the ongoing cost of living crisis and the increasing demand, particularly through services like homelessness. However, there have been further efficiencies found within the portfolio, but these have already been reported through the MTFS reports that have been presented. So the two additional efficiencies that we found within the portfolio, one relates to Curlink, which is £100,000. So the provision of the alarms and the monitoring is charged at full cost recovery to the residents who receive that service. However, the management element of our service is a cost that falls to the council, and is provided from the housing support grant and the housing revenue account. And so what we are proposing to do there is increase those contributions from those two funds to cover the cost of the service. So essentially we're seeking to align expenditure correctly to the HRA and HSD, which although does put budget pressure, which has been accounted for within the HRA, has allowed us to free up £100,000 within the council fund. In addition, we've also looked at food poverty, and the staff working on food poverty is half grant funded and half council fund. And again, we've managed to lever in some additional Welsh Government grants, and we intend to realign some of those staff costs to the correct service so that they're transferred to Curlink. So in total, we managed to find £182,000 worth of efficiencies. The reason they're not in this report is that two of those have already previously been reported. And then I suppose in addition, within the report, we're looking at ongoing risks. It will come as no surprise to members that the ongoing risk in housing and communities relates to homelessness and continuing high demand. That risk is on the corporate risk register, continues to be monitored on a monthly basis. There is no budget pressure or overspend in this year's budget around homelessness, but we are conscious that demand continues to increase despite all the mitigating activity that we're putting into place. So financial monitoring is regularly updated, and the modelling in terms of next year to enable us to identify any pressures early. Thank you.
Thank you, Vicky. Vicky Clark is our Chief Officer for Housing and Communities. Do we have any questions, please? None at all.
Councillor Bibby online.
Councillor Bibby.
To formally move the recommendation, Madam Chair.
We are being let off very, very easily, aren't we? Right, let's go to the recommendation, which is on page 19. Find it. Page 20. The recommendation is to review and comment on the housing and communities portfolio option to reduce budgets. Well, we reviewed it anyway, didn't we? Even if we didn't comment. We have a mover from Jason Shawcross. Councillor Paul Johnson wants to, who is our deputy leader, by the way.
Here, because I'm bad with this thing. As it is coming to the cabinet, etc., etc. Could it be recorded that we have the committee has no comments, or if we have any comments, that they could just make them, whether they're happy with them, they agree with them. So we get, I think, from looking at previous years when we've had comments, people said things about the budget, even a thing, well, we understand how difficult it is. Those sort of comments would really help to kind of setting our understanding what the committee felt about the cuts. Just saying nothing. It says, well, do you agree with them? Are they difficult? Are they awkward or whatever? Just an indication of how the committee feels would be, I think, quite helpful in the overall pattern. Other committees have said what they kind of felt about them, even though they kind of didn't disagree with them, they were there, but they made comments about them. So I'm just wondering if that was something the committee could do, or just say that they have no comments, they're quite happy about it.
Okay, we can't force people. Okay.
Oh, we can't, but it's always very, very helpful.
Councillor Dolphin.
Yes, thank you, Chair. If I was to make a comment, it would be, why are we finding the efficiencies now and we haven't found them before? Which is negative, and, you know, I didn't want to be negative. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. You can be negative. That's what we're here for. Councillor Bibby.
I'll await a response to Councillor Dolphin's point before coming in.
Thank you, Councillor Bibby. So, who is going to answer? Councillor Helen Brown is going to answer you. Thank you.
Yeah, quite simply because we'd asked for the portfolios to look for further efficiencies.
Right. You've moved around on the screen, Councillor Dolphin. There you are. Does that satisfy you?
Well, shouldn't we be looking for efficiencies all the time? Should we not? Do we have to be asked to do it? Shouldn't that not be something that we are doing anyway? I'd have thought we should be looking to save the council money wherever we can. Yeah, it doesn't really need a response, though. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. I think that we should reflect what you've said in the recommendation. So, there you go.
Councillor Bibby wanted to come in, and Councillor Rush has indicated as well, Chair.
Councillor Bibby again?
No, he waited for Councillor Dolphin to get a response.
And who else has put their hand up?
Councillor Kevin Rush.
Oh, sorry, Kevin, didn't see you.
Yes, thanks, Chair. To be fair, nobody likes cuts anyway. We haven't got the finances from the Welsh Assembly government. We've just got the money we've got. So if we don't do cuts, who's going to pay the rest? It's going to be our residents again in council tax. And as I say, you know, no one wants cuts, but I believe it's the best of two evils. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Rush. To be fair, I don't think Councillor Dolphin was saying she was against them. She was saying, why don't we find them anyway without being asked? Okay. So, if we can...
Councillor Bibby.
Yeah, I just wanted to change the recommendation.
Sorry, Vicky, like
Chief Officer, thank you.
Thank you. I suppose in relation to Councillor Dolphin's question regarding us finding efficiencies, as I said earlier, there is one efficiency in this report that we have found since we were asked for further efficiencies. However, throughout the year, we have already reported efficiencies within the NTFS report, so it is an ongoing activity. We are always looking at how we can create efficiencies in terms of the services that we are delivering. And in terms of efficiencies that we have found, there is no cuts to services. What we have done is managed to lever in additional funding from grants, which has allowed us to continue to deliver services at the level they're currently being delivered, but within that, allowing us to find efficiencies on the council fund.
Thank you. Councillor Sean Bibby.
Thanks very much, Madam Chair. I think, obviously, as proposing the recommendation, I believe that you were going to amend it slightly, so I'll leave that to you.
It's a bit like a game of tennis, isn't it? Tossing the ball back. Well, I'm just looking at it, it just says to review and comment on the housing communities portfolio option to reduce budgets. Now, how would Councillor, I'm going to toss the ball again now, how would Councillor Johnson wish that to be read?
Chair, I think we've added to what it was there. The comments have been made on different issues around that. It has been reviewed, so I'm quite happy with what you're proposing there. It's just, I felt that if you had no comment to go and make, it was like, well, what's going on here? It is a scrutiny committee.
I don't think anyone said no comment.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, we haven't now. No.
Okay.
No. Dear
me. Right, we've had a mover. No, we haven't. We're back to Councillor Bibby again now. We're with the original recommendation.
Yes, so Councillor Bibby originally moved that. So
and you're okay with that? We need a seconder now. Thank you. Councillor Shawcross. Can we have a show of hands? Thank you. We're now on to agenda item 7. Common Housing Register, Single Access Route to Housing, Sarth, pages 27 to 44. Report of Chief Officer, Cabinet Member for Housing and Communities to provide an annual update of the Common Housing Register. So we are over to Chief Officer. Thank you, Vicky.
Thank you. As the Chair has just mentioned, this is an annual report that comes through this committee. So I'm just going to give a brief introduction, then I'm going to pass over to Sean, who's going to give you the detail. But essentially, the report gives a breakdown of housing need in Flintshire, and that housing need is determined through the Common Housing Register. She'll also provide an update on the ongoing review of Sarth, which is the single access route to housing, and provide some details of the costs of us providing and running the register. So I'll just pass over to Sean.
Thank you. Back over to Sean Dunn. Thank you. Sean, I beg. I'm doing it again. Thank you, Sean.
Thanks, Vicky. Oh, good morning, members. Yeah, so this is an annual report like Vicky's alluded to. It's a similar format from last year. The sort of headline themes around it is still that disconnect between the demand, the need and the stock profile. So it is a point in time in terms of the number of applications. So at the end of December 2025, we had just over 2,000 live applicants waiting to be rehoused into our own stock and RSLs. That does not take into account any applications that have been suspended pending further information or under review. So that is that's slightly a higher figure than reported. It's a 6.5% increase from December 2024, where we had 1,937 live applications. We split out the different bandings. We have band 1 to 4. Band 2 is still the most common position where we find the majority of our applicants. And as no surprise, the biggest need is still around homelessness. So that takes up the big proportion of why people are on the register. In terms of Neil Morland's review, we are still working our way through that review. So it's been a few months in the making, and the key ambitions around that are sort of rewriting the rules to make sure they're fit for purpose, because obviously Sarth has been around for around 10 years now. So Conway Council are leading on that with Neil Morland in terms of conversations with Welsh Government around capital investment. Because as you can see from the report, a lot of Neil's recommendations are around a new IT system, which is going to be the key to everything really. So at the moment we're looking at draft rules for the allocation of social housing in partnership with all of the housing partners, looking at shared and good practices from across Wales and the rest of the UK and Europe. Like I said, a big part of the changes are around a new ICT system. So at the moment, we are still waiting for those the review to be fully realised. So I can bring another paper later on the year in terms of where we're up to with that. In terms of specialist housing register, you can see within the report that we do sort of split that out, but those applicants who are on the specialist housing register are still captured in the 2,073 applicants, but they are applications where adapted properties are required, larger properties and more bespoke adaptations. So due to stock profile, they do unfortunately take longer to rehouse. And then just to wrap up in terms of the cost for the service, there's contribution from all housing partners in terms of running the register team, and we also have 2 housing occupational therapists which support the work to make sure that we're looking at the right property for the right people. And then on top of that, we do have an additional 10% service management charge that we cost out to housing partners as well. So the figures are very similar to last year in terms of how we deliver the service. Don't know if anyone has any questions on anything I've just mentioned.
Thank you, Sian. Do we have any questions from anyone? Councillor Bibby, thank you.
Thanks very much, Madam Chairman. Just 2 queries, really. Firstly, in regard to the 50% nomination rights with the homelessness team, it does mention in the report, and just give me 2 secs to get the stats up, does mention the 50% figure. However, it does mention in the report that the actual lettings are significantly lower. And I think with looking at the figures here, it's 16% with the council. Is there any particular reason why we're not able to get to that 50%? And would it be correct in my assumption that it's simply because the stock doesn't align with the applicant? So we can't get to 50% because we're not getting, I would imagine, 1-bedroomed flats coming through the system quite regularly. Another question on that would be, it's 16% direct let with Flintshire County Council. It's 3% with Clwyd and Allen, and with Wales and West, it's 1%. So it does seem that the direct let with the homelessness is significantly lower with the housing associations. So just maybe an explanation. I think I probably understand why it doesn't get to the 50%, but why is it so low with the housing associations? And secondly, in regard to the banding, let me get that up. I think just with the way the banding structure works, we've got 1,700 odd applicants out of 2,000 in Band 2. It does seem to me that people in Band 2 have a very broad spectrum of need. And, you know, with the review that's coming up, is there maybe scope to look at looking into that further, and maybe that needs to be subdivided?
Thank you, Sean. Some good questions there. Back over to Sean. Thank you.
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, thanks, Councillor Bibby. In terms of your first question, yes, it's just that disconnect between, we've got 71% of clients who are under the age of 55 who are homeless, and they're also therefore also on the housing register. We just don't have the stock profile coming through, so we are slightly above that figure. I had the stats for January in terms of 2 or 3 beds, but that doesn't land in terms of where the need is. So yeah, you've assumed that correctly. In terms of the RSLs, we are acutely aware that they're not bringing as much to the table in terms of direct lets. We've had a few months where we've embedded a new system around risk, so it's risk profiling, and we now meet regularly with Jen Griffiths and colleagues in terms of when we're looking at direct lets, in terms of making sure that everybody is aware of any risks and what that looks like, because obviously they've got the intelligence around the site and the stock and who's there already. And that's something that we are just in the process of rolling out with RSL partners. I think that will gain some momentum in terms of the challenges that we're going to face from April with the new homelessness bill being approved. And that's going to be part of everyone is required to consider their part in, preventing homelessness and eradicating homelessness once and for all. So that conversation is happening with the RSLs, and we are gaining some further traction with that with our rapid rehousing coordinator, because obviously the way what we want is if someone does unfortunately have to enter the homeless service, and this is not just about homeless people on the register, but when we're looking at that demand profile, it's making sure it's rare, brief and unrepeated, and we've all got our part to play in that in terms of offering properties through the direct let process. I think that answered all your questions, Councillor Bibby. Thank you.
Thank you, Sean. Councillor Dale Sylvester.
Thanks, Chair. I think Councillor Bibby must have been reading some of my notes, because he's asked a couple of questions there that I was going to ask, to be fair, but at least they've been covered. So the only 2 points that I've got on here is in regards to 1.04, the no one left out directive that we obviously at Flintshire Council support, and we try our best to keep people off the streets. I'd like to know, have we got a exact direct number to contact in regards to anyone that we find out that's on the streets? I mean, in the past I've always been told to call Martin about it, but obviously he was a busy man in meetings, etc. I've had a case in Queensferry not so long ago where I couldn't get hold of anybody to try and help this young man out. It's not a criticism of the council at all. It's just something to try and speed the process up, to try and stop this no one left out. The second point is in regards to the suspended list. Obviously, when we do our annual reviews to all our applicants, asking if they wish to remain on the register, have we got a total of how many people were suspended between December last year and December this year? And I suppose you can't answer the next one. Do we know the reasons as to why they were suspended? Was it basically there was no contact, or were there other reasons behind it? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Sylvester. Before you answer that, Sean, do you also have an out of hours number if we find anyone homeless? Thank you.
Thank you both. Yeah, so what I can do is I can share the contacts, including my direct line, and we do have a contract in place with a Fariad who will go out and do rough sleeper alerts for us. So they'll go out, Councillor Bateman, you flagged one to me on Friday, and they went out on Monday to assess and see how we can support. So yeah, I can share that. In terms of your question regarding applications being suspended, yes, we do have that data. We collect that on a monthly basis, so I can share that out as a separate item if you would like that. And it just very much depends. It's around applications being suspended because we require a medical form being completed to ascertain someone's personal situation to make sure that fit for the property. It's around asking for proof of child benefit, proof of the value of a home. So it's around getting all of the information to make that assessment in the first place. And then unfortunately, sometimes it does fall that the applicants don't respond, and then we do sort of chasers. We send 2 or 3 letters out. Please come back to us with that information because we want to support. But then there comes a point where we do have to cancel the application, and then they have the right then to reapply. Thank you.
Thank you, Sean. Councillor Pam Banks, please.
Thank you, Chair. All my question is, are we still putting homeless in caravans instead of hotels, or have we stopped doing that?
Thank you, Councillor Banks. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Banks. Currently, we don't have anybody in caravan. We were using a caravan site on the coast road by Abercan during the summer, but we stepped away from that for various reasons. So currently, we still have to rely on hotel and B&B settings, but we have diversified away and grown our profile of stock for TA. So we've got more of our own stock as house shares, lease properties, D2. So currently, no, in terms of using a caravan, that's not what we do.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Rosetta Dolphin, please.
Thank you, Chair. I didn't realise that we did put them into caravans, but I have to say, I think I would prefer to be in a caravan than in the hotel. At least you have facilities in a caravan to make your own food and things like that, which was got to be a bit cheaper, hasn't it? But my question is, on homelessness, and I'm not talking about on the street homelessness, I'm talking about people who are, for an example, I know of somebody not in my ward, but who is about to be, they've been given notice that their landlord is selling their property. They were given notice back in November, I think it was, and they have to be out in March, end of March. But their worry is they've heard nothing. They don't know anything from our homelessness. They're told to get in touch sort of later, or they will look at it later. That is such a worry for that family. She's got 2 older boys, but we must have loads of others who have got younger children, and that must be a real worry to them. Why do we wait so long before we sort of assist? Is it because we haven't got the properties, which I know, we're not great with, or is that our standard? Is that what we do with absolutely everybody anyway? I just wondered. It just seems a lot of mental strain on somebody to have to be thinking about how they're going to be homeless in such a short time. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Rosetta. I agree with you wholeheartedly. I know of an elderly gentleman who's suffering mentally because of that. It is sad. Sian.
Thanks, Councillor. In terms of your question, the current legislation allows us 56 days to work with someone, but what we will always do is try to prevent that homelessness. So you've alluded to the fact that landlord served notice. We need to make sure it's valid and that the landlord is compliant and registered for in terms of being a landlord, to make sure that's a valid notice. And then we'll always work as much as we can with a client or a family to prevent them entering the service in the first place. But what we're also mindful of is that they have every right to remain in that property until March, and that's what we'll support them to do as well. And yes, obviously that is traumatic, so we'll do as much support that we can, and that they're willing to accept from our service. I think just if you can share with me that family's details, I can pick up that case separately and see what's happening with it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I know when Sian's on the case, it will be looked at. Any more questions? No? Okay. We'll go to the recommendations. There are 2. 1, to acknowledge the current levels of housing needs across the county and the growing pressures regarding social housing, which is not in line with the supply of available homes locally. 2, to acknowledge the review of the South Partnership and Common Allocations Policy currently being undertaken by Neil Morland and Co. Do we have a mover, please? Councillor Shawcross, thank you. A seconder? Thank you very much indeed. I suddenly forgot Councillor Claydon's surname. Thank you. Can we have a show of hands, please? Thank you. There we go. Now we go on to the final agenda item, which is agenda item 8. And it's the report that we get monthly from Housing Support and Homelessness Service. And we're over to Sian again. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Bateman. Yeah, so this is a slightly different format again this month because they asked at last scrutiny meeting was to include November's and December's. So I haven't tweaked or changed the format, so it's still exactly the same. So what this update shows is the number of housing triage completed, with then the number of clients assessed as being homelessness or threatened with homelessness. We were asked around including prison leavers, which is now something we can do as a standard going forward. Then we share around the most common reasons for homeless presentations, which doesn't alter, to be honest, and it hasn't for the last 12 months or so, and it's broken down there. What you will notice that there's an increase of 48 presentations from December to January, so we shot up from 499 clients to 557. But that isn't unique. We always know that January is quite challenging in terms of those presentations, which are for various reasons, such as relationship breakdown after Christmas, financial worries, and so on and so forth. And then the following data just shares around the different types of accommodation. So on the second page, it gives you the split that we've got 416 placements consisting of 547 clients. So obviously that's families and couples as well as single clients. And then it just gives a split then for the last 3 months in terms of where they're placed. So emergency is our hotel and B&B. And we've also got a homeless hub, which is Avon, and then all forms of other TA, which is the house shares, leased, D2, and so on. And then the final section of the report is just the age range overview. And I think it's really prudent to just bring everyone's attention back to that 71.23% are single males under the age of 55. So there's a huge disconnect there in terms of what we need for one bed. That obviously will include childless couples as well, because they only need a 1-bedroom range. But the predominant, overall data shows us around single males under the age of 55. If anyone's got any questions.
Thank you, Sian. Do we have any questions? Before we do, can I just comment on the new layout? I think it's a lot, it gives us more information now, doesn't it, that we can compare. And we have a question from Councillor Selcrest. Thank you.
Yeah, obviously I'm new to this and I've not been present at the previous meetings. But it'd be wrong for me to sit here and listen to this and look at these numbers and not ask the question about the Daniel Owen Centre in Mould and the flats that are down there. Are they completely out the question? So these numbers are quite incredible, really, of people waiting. And obviously, I'm aware that are they just not fit for purpose, or are they just out of the question? I've got to ask that question because I've had many messages regards obviously homelessness locally. So I'd like to just ask that question. It's probably been asked before, I dare say, but obviously I'm not privy to it and I've not been in the previous meetings.
The Ambrose Centre.
Sorry, yes, the Ambrose Centre, yeah.
Thank you, Councillor. Thank you for your question, and we do appreciate you asking it. Thank you. Back over to Vicky. Thank you.
Thank you. As you're aware, the appointments that you're talking about are owned by a private landlord. That private landlord has entered into a contract with Clean Springs Ready Homes, and that contract will run for a number of years. So.
Any more questions from anyone? No? Well, as this is just a report, we don't vote on it, and we thank you very much again, Sian. And next month is the annual? Yes. Yeah, of course.
Thank you. Some of you will remember that we all met, I think it was at the beginning of December, in terms of some key partners, probation, PVPU and MAPA colleagues. And on the back of that, I suggested around some training from an an independent consultant that we use to deliver training for new staff. So a lady called Laura Patterson, and she works across Wales and the rest of the UK. So she's come back to me to say that she can offer that training, and there's a training brief that I can share. So I just wanted to sort of raise that and see what appetite there is for that and when we can look at arranging it. Thank you.
Thank you, Sean. This would be Teams, would it?
I think the idea would be face-to-face, ideally, yeah. But open to however you want it to be. I think
face-to-face would be good.
Yeah, would be better.
So could you show your hands if anyone's interested in that training? Thank you. We have 2, 3. I think
that's the majority.
Do you want training?
Yeah, that's the majority of the committee.
I think that's definitely the majority of yes. So could you arrange that for us, Sean?
Yeah, no problem. What I'll do is I will speak to Laura Patterson and I'll get some dates in the diary, see about availability for room, and we'll go from there. Thank you.
Brilliant. Councillor Clerk.
With the training, can we have it face to face, preferably, please? Thank you.
Yes, I think that was the preference, wasn't it? Councillor Brown.
Could that be open to all members as well, please? Yeah.
Going to have to start selling tickets, I think. No, I think that would be a very good idea. Thank you very much. Okay, so I think that brings us to a close, and thank you all for coming this morning, and I hope you all have a good month. Thank you very much indeed. Goodbye.
Thank you, Chair.